Hello, everybody. Welcome to our oikos Camp Summer Gathering 2023. We are very, very happy to have you here today. Also, welcome to our online participants. They're with us on YouTube. We're live streaming this part of the event, let's say, and we're coming together after a week of co-creation to actually also share a bit about what we've been working on, not only here in the room, but also with the world out there and seeing some next steps. So welcome to, first of all, the participants of the week. We're so glad that you're here and that you actually made camp happen, but then also welcome to some of our partners who really, really were essential in this journey. So for example, Isade Business School, who's hosting us today as well. And long story short, what actually happened this week?
So it has been a lot. Like, we met 1 week ago in Barcelona with different people from different ages, different countries, different cultures. And 1 week has gone by where so much has happened. I remember Sunday arriving at Colonia Calvinal in Puig and then starting explaining the flow of the day, which was a bit blurry and a bit confusing at the moment, but it ended up making sense. And we had a flow of the day, which was about teamwork, but not only teamwork and not only hard work, but also workshops in creative and decision-making and backcasting, where we did a lot of different stuff. Then getting energy, because we also needed to move and go out to nature and also take power naps from time to time. And then going out to the bar and having laughter and building a community with each other, so that all of us here today feel connected.
And within those days, actually, we did not only grow together as a community, but we also grew together within our project teams. So this year, we actually had 4 teams joining the oikos Summer Camp, and all of them brought their own projects, which they've been working on and which they have been, progressing a lot, I would say. And I would say we're also all curious to see where they actually ended up, and maybe also where they want to go with their projects. So right now there's going to be some time to hear about their projects and also to offer some first responses to them. So what are questions that are coming up in our audience here? So also online audience, you're very welcome to share your questions in the YouTube chat. And we have our Tech Peter here who's helping us to bring in those voices, so you will be heard. We have 3 presentations. Each team has around 5 to 7 minutes to share about their work. And then we have around the same time to hear some questions from the audience. Before we move ahead. How does that sound? Good? Amazing. Well, then I would actually invite our first team on stage, and that's our Transforming Education Squad.
You even thought of one approach.
Shall we put you in the middle? Would that be the plan?
It's okay.
Yes,
And both the puts on the
between the
camera.
yeah.
There, get in there.
No, I think it's fine. It's fine. Let's just. Otherwise, we speak.
Hello, everybody. We're the Transforming Education team, and our project focuses on the TE squad, which exists since a longer time, actually. And it's an online meeting that happens once a month, where students that are engaged in their local chapters that are trying to make their education, their university more sustainable. They can meet there and learn from each other and from experts on how they can amplify their impact in their university. And personally speaking, I've experienced it as a very useful tool. And every time I leave a TE Squad meetup, I leave it feeling empowered and inspired. But unfortunately, not that many people know that TE Squad and are aware of this opportunity. And that's why Leonie and me, we were looking for an outside perspective, because we had been helping with organizing these meetups. And we were looking for an outside perspective to help us bring more people to the TE Squad.
So that's Nema and I, why we decided to join this group. We wanted to bring some new perspectives. And during this week, we decided to design an online workshop. So here you can see the structure of the whole workshop. But today we're not going to go into the details of the workshop. We decided to use a very creative way. We're going to do a short play to transfer what we want to achieve through this workshop. So enjoy the party.
I chose this course because I thought finances was interesting, but I'm super exhausted. After listening to the professor for 2 hours, I was super bored.
I know, and so many people weren't even able to listen anymore to him talking.
Yeah, I think we should go beyond the evaluation of investment return and talk more about sustainable finances.
Yeah, right. But why can't it change?
I see a world where students gather in smaller classrooms together with their professors, so they can learn not only from the professor, but also from each other. I see a world where there's room for open discussion. And I see a world where sustainability is a crucial aspect of every field of education.
I see a world where education will prepare me to real-life challenges. I see a world where education would build my career in sustainable finances. But how do we get there?
Workshop.
It's already there. All around the world, students are realizing and are having this need and are discussing it, that they want to change, they want it to be different. But it also already goes way beyond. I've heard of this story where students would self-organize a talk, would invite experts, and together with other students and with people just interested in the topic of green growth versus degrowth, they would just sit there, learn from each other, with each other in their free time. And more than 60 people were actually joining this event. And then I've also heard about this really great story where students, together with a university professor, would implement and include sustainable aspects in an undergrad business course. And that way, so many students each year are hearing about those concepts, are learning about them, and are spreading the word further and making themselves heard that it is important. But there's more. I've also heard about this amazing place where once a year people gather together, work together, create projects, and bring that spirit to the outside world. And this, in a way, all comes together in our TE Squad, where students can once a month meet, discuss some problems, some challenges, get inspired together, learn with and from each other, and together really shape the future.
I'm so motivated. I'm feeling empowered to be part of the change. I'm a change maker.
Let's work together to take higher education one step further towards sustainability. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for throwing your education spot. That was inspiring. About 10 minutes now for some questions from the audience. And maybe not only questions, but if you've been listening to this and there's something coming up from your side, which is a feedback or maybe also a very useful resource or a contact, just offer it as a gift to the group as well. Yeah. Do we have any questions in the room or online?
Chat.
I have a question. So it sounds like an amazing workshop, and we've talked a little bit together at camp. So I think I know the answer, but I want to know more about the workshop and how you're involving the administration into the project. How are you talking to professors? What other student levels are you working with? Who's the ecosystem?
So the workshop is mainly aimed at local chapters, at students that are already active, but they're facing a lot of challenges, or also students that want to get active. And the broad overview of the workshop is that we start by envisioning how our education could look together, like in a brainstorming visioning process. And then we also discuss success stories, because it's super important to know that, like Leonie already introduced some of them, but it's super important to see that these changes are actually possible and they're happening. And then we try to focus on what challenges we're facing when we try to achieve these challenges, these changes. And together we discuss tools on how we can approach professors, how to stay motivated in this process and stuff like that. And that's where the TE Squad comes in, because I feel like that's the best resource that I know, where I learn. First of all, I'm not alone with the challenges, which is also very empowering. And I can ask people that have made changes, how did you do it? And what was challenging for you? How did you cope with that? So I think that's...
Yeah, I think what is also important is that we're having students from all over the world. So like very different structures, very different approaches in different universities, and the local chapters know best their university. They know best what works, they know best who to approach. And we can provide some tools or some advice on that, some general advice, but in the end, like, it's not us reaching out for them. So it's really just them getting some paths they could go, and then they have in the end to select which one is the one that's most likely going to work for them.
Are you focusing your efforts or the design of the program on graduate level, on undergraduate level? Are you focusing it on a particular geographic region or the like?
We are not focusing on specific student groups, let's say. So it's open to everyone. And again, that's where the whole beauty of oikos International also comes in, that it's like so diverse. And we want to have a space for everyone to join in. And this is also what we currently have. We have like chapters from Africa, from Asia, from Europe joining in, graduates, like it's all there. So, and we want to keep that alive, because that's very central to us, to the TE Squad and to that path. But again, then if a chapter is more deciding on focusing on something, on undergrad students, for example, then sure, like go for it, and like there will be support, but it's their decision in the end, not ours.
And I think diversity really was a topic for you as a team, right? Also coming together from different parts of the world, different like levels of education, and also, yeah, stages in your life. So how was that? And what is your biggest learning maybe when it comes to diversity?
I like the fact that we came up with different output backgrounds based on our reality experience that we lived like in our school education. I think it was so easy to catch up and be more flexible enough to put all the pieces together. What I learned like like at some point it's so like stuck, but like how can you put all these pieces together? But like through different facilitation of workshop, we came up with this different background, different culture, different mindset views, and create a good result that you can see there.
And also besides of the cultural differences, we're also like coming from different educational backgrounds. This also contributes a lot for the design workshop, because normally transforming education, most people engaged in are from the business school, but like Kathy is from you learn translation, and I also learned translation before, so we also bring our own perspectives from students that are not from the educational backgrounds of related to economy or business. So this is also very important.
I think as a group, we really experience that this diversity is like enriching, and that's something we want to keep in our workshop in a way that we don't want to put boundaries on it. So really this experience, I think, really translates into what we designed here.
There's some more questions in the space.
I'll take it first. Okay. Firstly, amazing presentation. Very nice. I really enjoyed it. So my question is that when you talk about challenges, right, and education, now there are, and you also talk about how you will be expanding and keep it open and diverse. Now there are different type of challenges which can come. It could be related to curriculum. It could be related to teaching methodologies or anything. Has your group kind of brainstormed or thought about these are the challenges which we will pick, and these are the ones which are more core to you as as a group?
I would say like there is lots of challenges out there students are facing in their daily work, but again, like as you said, they can be super diverse, right? But we picked kind of one challenge. Mostly we also got the feedback from chapters they're facing and students are facing in their work, which is really that like transforming education, like working on the university education, is a super long run process. It can take several semesters, and we tried really to focus on that. And to see, okay, how can we provide tools that will help students, like, break it down, celebrate your successes, like just to name some. And this was the main challenge we tackle, or one of the two main challenges we tackle with our workshop.
Okay.
And we hope that this then kind of helps the local chapters to kind of get started again, maybe on their projects, and get motivated and find people that want to engage, because they also know a little bit more what they're doing now, because often it's very abstract and it's really hard to start on something which is just, then maybe you could reach out to someone and propose something like,
Right.
what are you doing with that instruction?
Right. Fair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And how would you measure the impact of the workshop and of the several areas that you're focusing on?
Well, we would be measuring it by seeing how many chapters in the end join the TE squad, which is what is hosted by oikos International, where once a month, everyone at this part comes together, and that's all people working on it. And so we see.
And I think we're in a very lucky situation here right now to have such a diversity of people from the oikos community in the room as well. So I'm seeing 3 generations of wonderful individuals working with chapters on this big quest, how to change my own education, right? So maybe it's just a question into the space. If the 3 of you in one sentence have one advice on how to work with chapters, what would it be?
Working with chapters.
with chapters or like, yeah.
Sorry. Okay. When I worked with chapters, I found it super rewarding. I feel like you discovered a lot of incredible people that are there doing a lot of work in oikos, and I feel like the most beautiful thing of like one-on-ones, but also in the TE squad, is the synergies that you create there. So I feel like really like creating, like making this room for people to get to know each other and share what they feel and see the connections that they build. Like they usually build organically. So it's just really there to like just a room happen. That is very, very beautiful. And that's, I think, one of the main cores of the TE squad and oikos in general.
I would say it's about relationship also. Probably the hardest one, but also the easiest one is if you have the one-to-one relation and at the end we're all in the same struggle and have the same goals. So building relationship, I think it's really important.
I couldn't agree with what both of you all said. For me, it's more like me trying to, or be from the TE squad organizing team, trying to build this relationship with chapters and giving them, empowering them at the beginning with check-ins. That really helped me to get a lot of business schools or schools joining in TE squad and really participating. And then comes like, wow, I didn't know about this group. And it's so important. It's so for us to take this change. And also so empowering to hear these stories from other chapters, how challenging it is or where the progress is. And they show up and they really like it. And they want to do the same change. So it's like co-creation and collaboration starts there. And then how we support them is to really match chapters to chapters together. If one chapter is already implementing and the other one is still in the starting phase, then we match them together to learn and exchange stories and take this journey forward of transforming education. And yeah, it's together, everything is coming together afterwards. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your advice. It's a big gift to have you here and share with us. And thank you for your great presentation. And Nema, I actually have good news for you.
Yeah.
Since your vision of learning about sustainable finance is already coming true. For the class, more than 3 years actually. And I have been even better for you. It's going to be fellowship. And that's actually what our second team has been working on. So I'm inviting the sustainable finance team on stage.
No, it's perfect. So we can put, let's see how you sit. You'll need to be on this side. Come over here. We can all be in front of here. And Mark, do you want to join us up here?
I did not participate in this other than one day. And while I love to soak up unearned plaudits, I think this is.
I'd love to have you on stage because I'm going to ask you something.
Oh, that's right.
It's so gracious to say that he wasn't involved when he was definitely involved. And you'll get put on the spot pretty soon on why you're here. So you can prepare for that. Hi, everyone.
Nice.
Hi, online. I think I see my mom is there. Hi, Mom. We are the Sustainable Finance team, and we have been working on a fellowship. And you'll understand the metaphor pretty soon because we're going to explain it to you about how we're helping students learn about sustainable finance by moving from the traditional finance world into a future where they're empowered to change their organizations that they're working with. We're a pretty cool team, I've got to say. We're joining from all over places around the world, and we're here because of many different reasons. And like I said, my reason is to help students learn more and move forward. And I'd love to have the team members share why they're here and what their reasons were for working on this project. Tarana, you want to go first?
Sure. So I'm Joanna. Hi, everyone. I'm here because I'm a fresh graduate and a young professional at the same time. So it relates a lot to me and I wanted to be a part of something meaningful. And yeah, this fellowship seems to be a good baby of us that will be helpful to everyone.
Yeah, my name is Alejandra. Similar to her, young professional, and I wanted to be part of a project on education and on sustainable finance. So perfect project to be in.
Well, my name is Ela Rivas, and I'm in this project because I think that it's moment for the young generations to start acting like in this way.
And Mark?
Hi, I'm Mark. I'm an old professional and I work in renewable energy development. If any of you hopefully you have worked in any kind of development, financing is key, especially for development in developing areas or areas that are underserved. And so unless sustainable finance is part of the regular conversations, as long as it's only people that are devoted already, sustainable finance is not going to change. And so, I think one of the things that everyone here has done very well is to try and move the ball in putting sustainable finance front and center at institutions, even when it's not necessarily already part of the curriculum or a central focus.
Well said. Thank you, team. We also had Laura joining us online, in person for part of the session, and she's here online in spirit with us. And this team really did a lot of good work. Like they mentioned, we developed some profiles to address how we're moving our fellowship forward. And we're doing that by focusing on some value-added pieces that we believe are going to be able to provide the knowledge, the networking, and the experience that our different types of students, professionals are looking for. And I'd look to my team to tell us a little bit more about the value add that this fellowship provides.
Well, about the value add, has like these 6 ingredients. Like the first one is co-created holistic program, mentorship and connection, career development, future finance leaders, knowledge and training, and exposure and recognition, which lead us to the fellowship that has these 3 keys of the triangle that are knowledge, network, and experience.
And all of these things are being put together in a program that we'll share with you, and we're going to be opening it up. So you might be interested to get some of these benefits. Let's tell you a little bit about the 3 profiles that we're working with. Tarana?
So since we are telling that we are taking a holistic approach, we are covering pains of 3 different groups. As you can see, it's students, young professionals, and companies. For students, the main pain is lack of knowledge, lack of access to a network or certain opportunities, which is why we are stepping in with this fellowship. For young professional, it's usually lack of guidance, again, lack of opportunities, and again, we are covering this. For companies, in turn, we are providing training for their employees. We are helping them to sustain their reputation. And because it's time consuming to organize something like this, like the fellowship we are providing. So again, we are just providing a product that's already out there. They just have to implement it. So yeah.
Thank you. I'm really proud of the work that we put in here, especially with Laura's help, because we really dive deep into the value add from a marketing perspective of how do we help these 3 different targets related to our program. And we were able to start putting some action into place by thinking about the specific organizations that would become part of this fellowship. From universities, networks like oikos, working closely with them to develop experience and expanding the knowledge base that students have access to other professional fellowships out there already that are working in this space, like one partner in New England and Boston, and helping them develop a professional and interactive program that will allow for cross-development and networking opportunities. To different sustainable banks that would be the type of partners that we can use to show their work that they're doing in the space of sustainable finance, and then help them with different projects that they're working on. And so these three magical pieces, including the oikos community that we have here, are how we're going to piece together the different parts of making this fellowship something useful to the community and beyond. And so how is this all going to work, you might wonder? Well, Alejandro is going to tell us.
Yeah, well, we have a beautiful timeline full of stuff here. It's a timeline of 12 months. It starts in September this year, ends in August, and it has three stages. First design, then the actual program, and then the review. And in the design, we have a lot of workload here. We have to figure out the details of the marketing campaigns. We need to figure out the funding and fees of the participants. And we have to structure the actual program, because we have talked about what we have put into the value added, but not the details, right? And we also have to consolidate our partners. Then in January, we start with the kickoff. It's an event where we start actually the program, and that ends in June. And this 6-month period is separated by the midterm review. And in the midterm review, we will tell all our participants what is going on, how is the program going on. In the first part, we have knowledge and mentorship. We have courses, and it's more theoretical going into the practical side. Then we go into the project, an actual project that the company or the bank will provide to the participants so they can have actually hands-on experience. And then we will go until events, networking events for everyone, the young professionals, the students, and the companies to collect their new ideas. Finally, we close the event with a certificate and, of course, an event. And we ask for feedback to know what's going on, how can we make this program better for the next cohort. And there we ask for a renewal of our partners, for discounts maybe for the students who are going for the next cohort, or for the students or young professionals who want to keep on going and be mentors. And lastly, to keep on this community, this network.
Thank you. As you can see, it's a big project ahead of us with a lot of work to be done in the design phase. But I'm really excited because I think there's some major areas where we can start working towards that, from developing our funding strategy, the partners involved, our program specific, all of the things that Alejandro was telling us about. And we're moving towards a way that we're really focusing our scope on the project, how we're finding potential volunteers and supporters to help us with this, and developing those partnerships and narrowing down the work that we'll be doing. Since one of the beautiful things about camp is that we get to be together in a co-creative space, I'm relying on my team here to give us some feedback, to give us the opportunity of where we go forward. And I'm going to look to them right now, as I have over the last couple of days, and ask them, what do you think is the next big step that we have to take in this process? Alejandro, would you like to tell us first?
Yeah, we need to find a core team that develops this program further. We haven't done a great job, but we need to go into the details.
Aloy?
Well, for me, about the next step is, as we said here in Catalan or Spanish, is like to pasar la acción, pasar a la acción. That means start working tomorrow.
Rana, what do you think?
I think defining the core message of our program is the key, so that we can communicate it clearly to the customers and investors.
Absolutely. Mark?
I think more work has to go into figuring out financial sustainability of it. That is, you plan it so that you are able to replicate it down the road. And if you need to pare down the scope just to make sure that it's sustainable, so you can target possible donors, you can do that.
Right. Thank you, team.
Thank you.
And now I look to the rest of you for your continued support of this project. Thank you.
I like you saying Aloy, because that means there's some space for celebration tonight. Yes. Thank you so much for your presentation, Sustainable Finance team. Maybe to start with, so you've been coming together as a team beginning of this week, right? You did not know each other, pretty much not at all, right? And throughout the week, there have been people jumping on the fellowship and jumping off again. So how did you hold that? What did you learn through this experience?
I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways in having a team that is changing throughout the week is finding really like the moments necessary for the team building. So like connecting before the camp even started so that we got to know each other. Having some time when Laura arrived that we could start to get to know each other. When Mark arrived in the morning, we were able to integrate into the flow of the day. That was something I shared earlier. It was like, there's so much of the teamwork that's not related to the project at all, of just getting to be able to work together effectively. Yeah. What do you think, for?
Well, I think that this what you're talking for me is like a positive thing, because each person that arrive with new ideas that maybe we haven't think about it before. So it's like every time that someone arrives was like, okay, let's listen to him or her, and maybe we do some changes, and I think it's positive.
I think you should point out that it's an institutional knowledge, to the extent a week is an institution, of Alejandra and Eloy here, like, were key to this, because when you have people coming in and out, even if they're fantastic people, unless you have a core backbone that knows what's going on and understands the goal that you're trying to do, it's very hard to proceed. It's clearly Oikos does that well. You got alumni here, so there's a long-running institutional baton passing, and I think you guys have done that well, and Stephen for leading us there.
Yeah, I think it's just also we are very like impact-driven people. We are motivated, and we share that feeling. Helped a lot.
Yeah, it's also about the respect and being able to hear each other. Because it sounds like all of us were jumping on and off, but I think Alejandra, Steven, and Eloy were the core backbones of the team. Kept together all the time, because me and Mark, we jumped from the middle and Laura left in the middle. So
you see they're a good team, they're all answering to the question. Are there any other questions in the space?
Yeah, I'm wondering about your communication channel, because you have a 3 profile with 3 different behavior student, young professional, and companies. And the other one, are you going to give scholarship to students because they don't have money? I don't know how much it's going to cost the scholarship.
Really great questions. That's definitely one of the things we want to really nail down is the cost. My dream is making access to sustainable finance knowledge accessible. And that's one of the core focuses of the partners who want to support this. So I believe that giving access to students is going to be very, very feasible. And in terms of the channels that we're really reaching out towards it is across the different professional networks that we know of, reaching out to the different associations working within sustainable finance, and relying heavily on friends and family that they see people in their network who could benefit from a training or from a workshop as it relates to learning about finance.
Just to add up on that, in the marketing campaign itself, we developed a survey that we will share with our network, and that will feed up into what channels are the needed ones, what type of price is the one that people would be willing to accept. So we worked part of it, but most of it comes in September. Well, next week. Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow.
Great, wonderful. There's another question.
Yeah, I have 2 things. Like for students who are willing to join, is it open for any background, or is it sustainable finance, or for students who are interested in finance and has a basic background in finance? That's one thing. And the second question is it an online fellowship or is it an on-site fellowship? These are the 2 questions that I have.
Do you want to answer one of you?
Well, the first question is for students that has been in finance or this area. And the second one, sorry.
Or is it going to be a fellowship which is online, or?
Well, that's a good question, because we thought that maybe it's better presential because with this way you can, for example, we think that it's a good idea would be that each student have one mentor, that this mentor could help he or she at every moment. And we thought that also maybe if it's online, it's like more difficult the connection between both. And yeah.
But the hybrid, it's a good option in terms of the events because it's really difficult money-wise to manage that part. So, yeah.
I think one thing the group's decided, and the reason why it's more or less restricted to students who are interested in or already have some background in finance or sustainable finance, is one of the goals is to provide value to the organizations or the people that are mentoring the students, and they have to do some training, right? But we also don't want them to take over the responsibility of training the student from like here's a bank, right? Like here's how finance in general works. We don't want them to have to do that. So I think the goal was to make sure the value was provided for every participant.
I have a question also about communication. Is there somewhere like a web page or something where all this is centralized, or is it just more reaching and then I don't know, like through Discord or a channel communicating about this?
Yeah.
Just for like referencing people.
We're going to be developing a website where all of this information will live and the application will go and then the courses and the next steps. And that will be something we start tomorrow. And of course, using the channels that we have in place with the oikos community. So I'm sure you'll see it in WhatsApp, on Discord, and by email.
Are you working with university in terms of certification, or is it like oikos International certified fellowship?
Yeah, really great question. That was an idea that we discussed, and we would love to find some local partners that would make this possible, where they could empower their own students and have a certificate for that towards helping them. So we're definitely going to be reaching out to our network and your network of universities to make this possible. Maybe some partnering with the Transforming Education Squad in changing finance programs across the globe. Yeah, that's a really great area where we want to try and find support from the universities.
Yes. Thank you.
The last question. What are the challenges that you're facing now?
Do you want to say it?
I think it's all of the challenges that we just shared of where do we start, right? From getting the work started to finding the funding, getting a team, finding partners. There's a lot ahead of us.
Which are the priorities that you'd like to be resolved tomorrow?
For me, it's going to spend a lot of time on the partners, because the partners are going to allow for funding. They're going to bring in participants as well, and they'll help to co-create the content of the course. So that's why we showed like the specific partners that we have already, and there's some more that we're going to go further with. Yeah, you're welcome.
And if I've listened rightly, then there's also an invitation into our space here and also to people online to maybe join the team, right? So you're looking for volunteers, and you're going to hear more, and another invitation to share that with your networks. Thank you so much, Sustainable Finance team. And let me quickly stick to this topic of finances for a moment, and just say another thank you to our partners and to the teams themselves who actually found their own partners this year, and made their participation happen through a diversity of ways. Living a life as an NGO is not that easy in this world, and we are really dependent on different sources. We're dependent on our own networks and families, and therefore we also shared a fundraising, a crowdsourcing campaign this year. And we're going to share that as well again in the YouTube chat and also with you here in the space. So if you feel you have something to contribute in a financial way, also in any other way, please do so. We would be very grateful. Yeah. what is my bridge? Because oikos is doing great work. And if there's one thing we're very good at, it's creating opportunities for students, which are really of deep value when it comes to how they are present in the world and what work they do later on. And very often we don't do that alone. Our third team of the day is a rising collaboration of oikos and one of our new precious partners, the 50%. And they have been coming together this week to explore what is it actually we want to do with each other beyond just being learning partners, right? So I'm inviting team systemic change on the stage.
Anyone wants to?
The order is, doesn't matter. To change the slide, yes, that would be great, thank you.
But it changes the slides in.
This is, which one is next?
The right. Right.
This one. Okay.
Let me just try it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Lolita Mfunelo, and I am from Cape Town, South Africa. Our presentation today, as the MC shared, is about a joint collaboration, a joint learning process between the 50% and oikos International. We're calling our project, for now, Systemic Horizons, because the focus is about opening the space of possibilities and creating opportunities to bridge from the head, the heart, hand, to bridge between the head, the heart, and the hand. Our ambition is to help and support in building the business landscape of creating a better future. So then the big question, the big systemic question is, can the next generation of business leaders become agents for systems transformation? In a world that's categorized by complexity through ecological, social, and economic crises, and they all look different depending on where we come from, there is a growing need for business leaders who embrace long-term and systemic leadership for a green and just future. Now, the question is, can that happen? Can they become agents? And can we create opportunities for them to use this learning practically when they get to the workplace? Our journey at camp is about a growing partnership that actually started before camp in what is, I guess, an ad hoc TE opportunity. oikos International and the 50% have partnered with a joint ambition to engage young people as agents of systems change. The partnership aims to create an ecosystem of cross-generational leadership and learning for global equity in a healthy biosphere. Where this partnership started before camp was at our forming phase. What we have been doing is creating different learning opportunities about systems change, having people like Michael Winter and Snick coming into sessions for 50% members, and also partnering in different learning and impact opportunities. Where we are now is our planning phase. That's what we used summer camp for. And that's why our presentation is a little bit more formal, because the intention was to formalize what has largely been an ad hoc collaboration of easy opportunities to find things that we have in common. And our plan after this is to immediately go into the testing phase. So as Eloy said, starting tomorrow, we have to do a little bit of testing. Our sense of the problems, our problem statement, is that we sense an emerging need for 21st century skills. And the reason why we're saying 21st century is because we find that we're existing in maybe what is a uniquely particular environment of different crises happening, everything, everywhere, all at once. There are few opportunities for young business and economic students to learn about systems transformation. When you're dealing with complexity, taking the opportunities to learn about how to work with complexity then becomes a fundamental skill for anyone who wants to be a leader in the 21st century. There are even fewer opportunities for them to learn and explore tangible ways to make regenerative organizations viable and widespread. If we speak about sustainability, it means the way that we do business, the way we procure, the way that we structure our economy needs to take a creative leap forward that we sometimes feel that we're not that equipped for. that we have to make too many trades and balances. So the question then becomes, what does it mean for a young business leader to have 21st century skills? In our sensing of pains and gains, we were looking at different statistics. We chose a user being a business and economics student. And these are some of the statistics that we're using to validate the assumptions that we made. The first one being future concerns. In a survey of 100 business students, 1,000 business students and senior leaders, 85% listed climate change as one of their primary concerns. So there seems to be a general consensus among the generations, or at least in the business school sphere, that there is a growing need to deal with the climate change issue. When you take it another step forward, what we're noticing is that young people are matching their values with their action. So there is a strong desire, at least from the statistic of EU youth, to match what they care about to what they actually do. 58% of youth in the European Union have participated in a youth organization of some form, and 72% of those people said that it had to do with their personal development above all. So we see the work of dealing with climate change as an opportunity for personal development. The last being the role of education. In a survey of 700 students, 75% of them believe that future education and training is critical in addressing systemic and societal challenges. So it seems like there's a narrative that's bridging all along. And the question becomes, can we create opportunities for young people to learn? Next slide, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Slide 6, okay. So when we take then looking at our approach and how we address this challenge, we're looking at systems thinking skills and tools for regenerative business. The what being creating accessible introduction to systems thinking in business opportunities, learning opportunities. The target group, as I said earlier, being your business and management and economics students, and the how being about producing digestible knowledge on systems thinking. The big thing about learning about complexity is that it is incredibly complex. So one of the big challenges that we're trying to take on is how can we make it a little bit more digestible so that everyone has an ability to start creating an appetite, creating a sense for what it means to rise to the level of the ambitions that they have. This is going to be done through hosting hackathons and fellowships and learning and interacting with different business cases. So our approach is then essentially in four basically work buckets, which are awareness raising, conveying concepts and theory, practical business case interaction, as well as sharing and community building.
Thank you. Well, as said, we have 4 buckets to work. The first one being the awareness raising, opening the space for the possibilities. We believe that systems thinking in complexity and fostering spaces for the primary actors to interact, it's really important. That's why into these strategies, we're thinking in focus groups, amongst other possibilities, in which business students or finance students can interact with primary actors, with entrepreneurs, with local businesses that are somehow starting to think in sustainability. So they can have this sort of intricate conversations where to learn what are the challenges that each one are facing, what are the concerns, what's the concept that everyone is trying to achieve in their own fields. System transformation is a complex process, and we need the actors involved to be in a permanent dialogue in which each and every one of them is able to feedback and to keep growing as the program goes by. No, it's okay, right? Yeah. Well, this goes a little bit to what we were, after the raising awareness stage, we want to have the theory inputs to start talking about the concepts that are related to systems thinking. As we've said many times, system thinking is complex, and we need a theory mark in order to start seeing the whole frame. The thing is that one of our theories to start is that business students usually are educated in order to see only one way of doing things related to profit, related to one single approach. So this part of the theory input, it's in order to allow them to have a broader scope on how the society works, on how the interconnectedness and the foster of relationships can get into a better, more sustainable system. And this is when comes the practicing the skills. Talking about systems seems a little bit abstract, but actually what we're planning to do is to work in really specific cases with located actors, with the primary actors involved in the discussion. So what we're going to do is choose a specific set of universities, of university students of business and finances across the world, mostly from the global south, which are going to enter this internship/fellowship with local businesses in order to help them grow and understand what are the local challenges that are happening. This is to be confirmed, by the way. But in general, the idea would be to put them on the ground to see how the things are happening every day and to make some sort of consultancy in which they will feedback the business on how to be more sustainable and at the same time to scale, to be more profitable for the business owner. That's one of the ways. The other one is a set of hackathons that are possible to be confirmed also, in which something like that will happen. Business students, probably postgraduate business students, will treat cases of systemic problematics, like a business or a set of businesses that are harming a society somewhere in the world, and how to solve that case in which all the actors involved get some gain out of it. After that comes on how we build this ecosystem and the credibility. Once the cases are resolved and all the actors involved has gone through a loop of feedback and everyone has taken something of experience, we're thinking in creative outcomes in which they can tell the story and also put a little bit of a cherry on the top of the creation of this sense of we-ness that's really important into all of this part. If we're thinking about system transformation, we need all the actors involved to think as a part of think themselves as a part of a group. So the building of the ecosystem needs to have a creative output in which all the focus partners, which Carol will come later, all the strategic partners can be a part of it. I think this is
So what is next is the question. Here a bit of our envision timeline for the upcoming weeks and months. So now we've spent a week, an intense week on site, brainstorming, thinking in different directions. And one of the next steps will definitely be an iteration. So we come from two different organizations, from different teams. Our next step will be to take what we have come up with to our teams and do an iteration to then see, okay, what is feasible, where we want to go next. So that's why a lot of this is still to be decided, to be confirmed, because I mean, we're here also as representatives of organizations, so they need to be included as well. Our aim, however, is to have partnerships and fundraising confirmed until the end of the year to see how we can move on in 2024. And simultaneously already do what we described as awareness building, so offering spaces in some way or another where we bring the topic of systems change and systems thinking into our organizations and offer spaces for students to exchange with each other and learn and become aware of that concept and become aware of how important systems thinking is. The hackathon hackathon idea that we are currently having would be somewhat in March next year. And we would love to have a hybrid program that then combines the theoretical side of things that we described, as well as the practical experience in a 5 to 6 months hybrid program for next summer onwards. So August 2024 would be kind of our aim. But before that, as mentioned here, quite some things need to happen.
how is it going to evolve beyond that? So yeah, with everything that I just described, it's kind of really also proving the concept, proving if our assumption of what we're coming here with is actually true and can be continued. We've already begun partnering with organizations, and we want to bring them in as well in this whole thing. And once we reach, let's say, end of next year, there needs also obviously to be an assessment and evaluation how we want to continue as partners and how we continue with everything that we've done until then. So that's just a little bit of an outlook. To our team, yeah, that's us. Yeah, just started with that, we're ending with it. So just a quick slide of our beautiful faces. Daniel, who couldn't make it to the camp, is also part of this a bit extensive core team of this collaboration. And yeah, our ecosystem and strategic stakeholders. At the top, you can see the partners that we are already, less than 50% is part of the Club of Rome, so it kind of comes together. There's also an opportunity with the St. Gallen Symposium, thanks to the collaboration you already have with them. So that is pretty much fixed. But we want to generally expand more and find different kind of partnerships to make this strong and have like a holistic impact and also sustainability to what we want to achieve. So definitely partnering with local universities, having knowledge partners on board, and business partners that then can provide the cases that we want to put into the hackathons, or that where the students can do their practical experience with. So that is our scope of things. Yeah.
Thank you. Beyond all of this, which you, by the way, can all observe on a beautiful Excel sheet as well, which is one of the outcomes of the week. Beyond all of this, what is one learning that you have between the organizations in this week?
Well, I would say that we've managed to create quite a good harmony when working together. Understandings have been on the table the whole time. I can't seem to recall any point of pain, any pain point in which we spent like hours coming back and forth. In general, I would say the mind frame that we both have made a lot easier the whole work.
So there's an existing resonance between the organizations. Beautiful.
Yeah, I think that the 6-ish months beforehand of just email exchanges and, oh, can you do this event? Can you please recruit people to come to this thing, etc., created a rapport of trust. We also learned that we have a handful of partners in common already, which helps us. So the first version of the slide had like a whole list of and logos of people we could talk to that we each could leverage off of. But then we're like, oh, this is going on a public platform. We haven't confirmed with these people. Let's not do that. But that also created a good basis of mutuality, of which we're both trying to bring the best of what we have into the situation. And that was a good takeaway from this week. And also a 1 week design sprint is basically doing 8 months of work in 1 week, which really helps. Yeah.
Nice.
Are there any questions in the room or online?
I have a question. Can you go to the slide where you showed your target group segment of students? I think it was business, economics, and
It's mentioned in, I think it's that one.
Yeah. Firstly, very good analysis on the data points, which you mentioned in the previous slide. I want to know, how did you come to this particular target group? Why do you think that these are the particular 3 target groups, and, out of all the things which you might have served?
The question then becomes, how broad do you want it to be? And we did have a short exchange, as Matthias said, they were never too long debates, but we had a short exchange about the cost and the benefits of too big of a group. And we ended up choosing to go with the niche One, because again, we mapped the partners we had, and a few of the partners we had were already in the business and economic space, which then makes partnerships viability much easier later. One of the things that we had discussed at the start is, for us, we came in with the partnership we have with the business school already. And so a good value add would just be to make that, what the outcomes we have for that much stronger. But also when you make too broad of a group, then you have questions of how will you communicate, how do you reach people, how well do you reach them? And when you try to speak to everyone all at once, sometimes you're speaking to no one at all. So we chose precision instead. That way we're able to intuit what the student needs and also what type of partner we're looking for. And our problem statement also looked at accessible, tangible learning opportunities that can be used on the field. We need to then define what the field means. And yeah, that's how we got to that answer.
I want to add something there. So on the one hand, it's that, and I would add that it's also about the impact that we want to generate. So our assumption is that businesses play a vital role in systems change. And for that, we need to target business management and economic students, so they have the competencies and skills to transform systems inside out. So that is also one of the reasons.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and also one last point is that we tried to have a lean approach towards the whole project. We decided that we wanted to get to this minimum viable project, which would allow us to hit the ground running as soon as possible. So as more parts we will put into the project, it will be more complex.
Correct.
So that's why we try to do a frame as localized as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm wondering about the fellowship formats, and then I have a confusion because you talked about fellowship, hackathon. So I'm like, do you want them to learn through challenge resolution, like for a company challenge? How, I mean, yeah.
Oh, okay. So our approach, as you see, is in 4 work buckets, which means type of learning opportunities that we want to generate. The hackathon and the fellowship are separate. We see and it presents different types of opportunities. It presents different type of learning. But we do have a content and theory section, which is basically about just conveying the information. I think it's the next slide. No, next one. Yes, where it really speaks to like the fundamentals, right? So your introduction to systems thinking and sustainability, your systems analysis of supply chains, etc. So that practical grounded learning of bridging between system thinking and what a business school would need, or like a business student would need in their career. There is that content theory. Hackathons for us then were how we prove the concept of, one, can we get business partners? Because when you hold a hackathon, you need someone to give you a business case. So it's kind of getting partners into the process earlier rather than saying, we're going to do a course next year. Can you please come and give us cases? It's to say, let's start with a small group, focus and learn about the logistics of hosting this. How much time will it take, et cetera, et cetera. When we get to a cohort now that is consolidated on content and theory, going through a journey, that's a much longer 5-month learning process rather than something that would be hosted as a 2-day, look at this thing, here are some concepts, try to solve this problem, to answer your question.
Maybe one last question. What's the role of teddy bears in your project?
The role of teddy bears?
No, you're answering that.
I'm answering.
You wanted to, you wanted to answer it.
Teddy bears are very fundamental because, we see our user through the teddy bear. We channel the teddy bear to then really understand where the problem is coming from. For those who are not in the room, Camp had like 4 teddy bears and we had to do a play. And because I don't think there is an actor between us, we chose to channel the teddy bears as actors for us. That is the role. They have been noble servants in helping us really understand this problem.
And I think the room agrees that the teddy bear is essential and should stay a part of the project.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good job, good job.
And this was actually not the last team, because all of this, the whole week wouldn't have been able to take place actually without the Genies team, a team that has been kind of sitting together for over the past, 8-9 months to create this opportunity, to create frames and contexts which allow people to not only work deep inside their projects, but also start think broader, cross-pollinate, and maybe start also realizing, wow, hard work can be fun and can be different and needs the whole body. And what else? I would invite Manuela, Elena, and maybe also Peter here, able to quickly come here. Quickly hear from you. What was it like to organize camp this year, and why are you actually here?
So I will start. I'm here because I was a participant last year at camp as well. And I was coming from Oikos International. Well, I was coming from Oikos Barcelona, and I was working on a project with Oikos International. And as a participant in a team, I worked in a project, but the way that we were working was very different from what I was used to in university and in my traditional education. Hard work didn't have to be boring or monotone. It could also be fun and playful and creative. So we found a new way of working, which was responsible, but was also something more. And that's why I also wanted to come this year and help organize camp for other participants to learn that we can be transforming finance, education, we can be transforming many things, but as long as we don't also transform the people that are transforming these things, not much is really changing. So being able to show another way of working, to show that in order to work well, you need to connect with people, you need to be creative, you need to be active, you need to have a vision. It's not only about sitting down 4 hours a day and doing an Excel sheet. You can also do that. It's very fun, but it's not only about that. So yeah, that's why I decided to join camp.
Same as Elena, I was a participant in camp last year, and I really fell in love with the experience. The people, the way of working, it really motivated me and changed me and inspired me. And yeah, it just felt right to come back and to help host another group of participants to try to give them the same experience I had. And yeah, I really believe camp shaped a lot of my last year, a lot of the learning I had there. So I just wanted to give back a bit. How was it? Oh, I mean, it was fun. It was challenging. It was always the doubt of am I being good enough? Am I actually bringing the magic the last generation of genies brought to me? But it was really satisfying. It was, I learned a lot about myself, and I love the experience.
I loved the experience last year already, and having this half week due to getting sick. I definitely knew last year already that I'm gonna be here with whoever joins this beautiful week again, in order to be available the full week. It's been completely different than last year, and at the same time it's been great working with all those teams, and again learning so much from each other. I joined this year specifically as well because I learned so much about myself and about working together that I was like, no way, that's not gonna happen this year. And none of you have disappointed me in that expectation, because we really got ourselves moving. There were so many learnings this year again, that this year's camp again was a really, really great opportunity for me to learn more about myself, to learn more about how oikos works, and actually working on site with oikos is always a great opportunity. And at some point, somebody said this week, on-site working rules online working overall. Like, it's nothing. Working on-site can give you so much that online work does not convey. And therefore, I'm super glad I was here.
So much. And I just want to point out that there's another genie in the room who has been flying undercover for the past 3 years already, almost. So just also a short applause for Stephen. So much energy. This can't be taken for granted. It shows to me, like, yeah, how much the work resonates actually with people when you know, from one generation people join again for the next year and take another role, which they might not feel comfortable with in the first place, but they lean in a bit further. So thank you for being here, and let's hope for maybe another genie team next year if there's going to be a camp. Actually, the bridge to call Caro back on stage, because I don't know if you know, Caroline is the co-president of oikos, one of the co-presidents of oikos International for the next 1.5 years still. And Caro, do you quickly want to share us what's boiling in oikos? What's coming up next? Sure, first. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you all for coming. Really nice to see like the intergenerational oikos people here. What's currently happening at oikos? So one of the things you're gonna see in the upcoming months, weeks, is definitely the outcomes of what has been presented here today. So a lot of work on transforming our education towards more sustainability, sustainable finance, kicking further in with a fellowship, and everything that will come out of the collaboration with the 50% potential hackathons, focus groups, another fellowship on systems thinking. So very exciting. We were really lucky to get further funding for our LEAP program, which is happening again this year. It's just, 7th or 8th edition. 2015 they started. So, but well, that's gonna happen. The midterm meeting is happening in 2 weeks from now in Switzerland again, where a group of students will come together to transform their inner self. So that's really exciting. And what will come up in fall, which you can also get curious about, is the Oikos Academy. We also have someone here who might be able to fill me in if I miss the details. So as I know of, there will be a kickoff on October 22nd. Is that correct? Yeah. And the Higher Education Summit student takeover in November. So it's a collaboration with our partner Copernicus Alliance. And it's going to be an exciting hybrid format. So hosted at local campuses of 6 of our chapters, and at the same time, I'm not sure about at the same time, but there will be an on-site part of it and an online part of it, where you can then also join if you're not being on-site. Maybe you want to quickly say which chapters have confirmed their contributions, Navia. You can also come up if you want.
So yeah. It's really interesting. We have like diverse group of chapters in Graz, Kano, and we have one from Graz already here, Katrina, who's leading it, Kano, and 2 Indian chapters as well, from in Delhi and Jamshedpur. And I'm missing one more. That's Barcelona, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So really exciting. Not sure about the local plans yet. Maybe that's going to come then in the communication.
Yes.
But stay tuned. It's the Oikos Academy, the event.
Thank you.
think that's enough information.
There has been quite some information. You can stay here. You
I
can
don't
go.
know. I think you said you want to ask.
Great, super. Well, and we're actually coming to the end of our facilitated part of the day.
We just wanted to take a moment of appreciation and thanking all of you, all the participants that have been working on their projects, that haven't made this possible. Also other oikos allies, other partners. I also want to thank like all my Genius team for working with me and yeah, for helping us make this possible and make 2023 happen. It wouldn't have been possible without you.
Totally. And also thank you to our online participants. Great to have you with us. Carol?
I want to thank the Arne Loosevelt Association for Future Education, is that correct? Which made the participation of some of our people here possible. And that was a connection that was made through Nolita and Matthias and the 50%.
Very important to mention, next to many other partners like the Stiftung, Freie Gemeinschaftsbank, ESATE, and others in the room. Thank you for bringing that up again. Yeah, and that leads us to close this official part, say goodbye to our online participants and say, just stick around, have some snacks, have some good conversations to the people here in the space. Thank you so much. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the day. Great.
Yay, good job, Kale.
Te ha hecho un reportaje para ti. ¿Quién ha hecho casi un reportaje?
You guys did fantastic.
Valentina.
Barcelona, 2 nights. Then
a lot of things going on. Like I think I had like I have to go to Dubai. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
yeah. Well, I don't have to. I haven't gone to Frankfurt, but I just want to say one time.
Life, whatever.
Good job.
Dubai, it's like when you get there, it's longer, but it's you gotta stay overnight.
Gracias.
Roman guys.
Well,
Very much.
yeah. How do people like going into Cape Town?